Hey everyone, this is acyuta-bhava from Nightlight Astrology. Happy Monday, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at some of the astrology of March. Take a look at some of the highlights of the month ahead. There are 22 transits on my list for this month, so it's a very busy month astrologically. Tomorrow we'll be doing sun and rising sign horoscopes, getting back into the swing of it with those. I know some of you have missed them. I Kickstarter and then a surgery, January, February. I did not. I just did overviews for the month, so I'll be returning to that. Let's go ahead and put the real time clock up, and I want to show you guys the I'm going to try to just give you a feeling for the month rather than going through all 22 transits. I just want to start by showing you what I think this month is all about. So let's begin by just looking at the signature of the new moon, which kicks off the month on March 2nd. You have a new moon that is just I just think it's such a really positive signature. Now, positive is a subjective thing, right? In this relative world, positive events can be negative and negative events can be positive. The astrology is really so different for each individual. But when I get a feel for the mood of this, this opening signature of the moon cycle, I feel really good about it. You've got the new moon opening in a conjunction with Jupiter, who's getting reset through its synodic cycle with the sun in a conjunction early in the month. It's protected in its own chariot from the combustion. So this is I would think, a more positive expression of sun's conjunction with Jupiter. They're both in a sextile with Uranus. It feels heroic and redemptive. The sextile with Uranus at the opening of a moon cycle feels like the cycle has this redeeming, liberating, breakthrough, progressive kind of quality behind it, a momentum that's positive and optimistic. That's how I feel when I look at it and when I've been sitting with it. On the other hand, Mars and Venus are going through a roller coaster this month. At the beginning of the month, at the exact same time, you're going to see Mars conjoin Pluto. I started talking about that last week. We talked about that in relation to the warfare that's happening right now in the Ukraine. And then you've got Venus going through a conjunction with Pluto right afterwards. This is all early in the cycle. And then the two planets get together in Aquarius. Now, I feel pretty hopeful about this. Venus surpassing Mars, them both being in an air sign where Mercury and Saturn are present. Could cooler heads prevail? Could this be the kind of energy where if there's volatility in relationships, you're working things out, you're coming to some sense of harmony and understanding? If in other words, look, Venus and Mars couldn't get more cathartic and sort of volatile looking going through the conjunction with Pluto, but then they conjoin again with Venus surpassing Mars, and both in Aquarius, an air sign, where Mercury and Saturn are co-present right now, which just feels like, okay, let's be objective here. Because the Venus and Mars with Pluto can be very passionate and can lose themselves in the intensity. So that looks good. But then right after Venus passes over Mars, then we have Venus in what's called a malefic enclosure. Now, this malefic enclosure lasts, depending on how you measure an enclosure, if you use the outer planets or not. At the very worst, without the outer planets, it lasts, or let's just say, if you use the outer planets, it lasts until about March 19th, when Venus squares Uranus. At that point, if Venus is hemmed in, then the potential for liberation or some kind of breakthrough for Venus feeling hemmed in by the malefics could take place. So that would be an early, an optimistic early termination of the enclosure, a breakup. But Venus is sort of caught between a rock and a hard place. That the point is from about March 6th onward. If you don't use the outer planets, different people will measure enclosures differently, then you have to wait all the way until about March 28th, at which point Venus conjoins Saturn. And then as it passes over the conjunction with Saturn, it is no longer in the enclosure. At which point we're about to start a new moon cycle. And the next new moon cycle that takes place in March, to me, feels pretty hopeful, because it carries on the same hopeful themes of the previous moon cycle. Now you're getting a new moon in Aries, very dynamic, action oriented. Mars and Saturn are coming together in Aquarius. They're no longer sort of beating up Venus. And then Venus changes signs. Venus goes into her exaltation in Pisces, and Jupiter is about to conjoin conjoin Neptune. I think this is one of the more exciting transits of the year. I feel this is a very hopeful, faithful, redemptive signature, an exalted Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune coming together. So it's almost like when you look at the moon cycle at the beginning of March, it's almost like this should be what the cycle is pointing toward. But for some reason, it's like, nope, you're not really going to get that hopeful, redemptive signature until early April. The early part of next new moon cycle. This moon cycle starts off hopeful, but then it's as though it's all prohibited or held in check temporarily, or sort of temporarily restrained or delayed or something, while Venus has to slog through this long enclosure. And another reason to think that this is the case is that the moon cycle of this coming month of March is in Pisces, right? So when you're putting that new moon cycle in Pisces, this is the sign in which Venus is exalted. So it's as though this moon cycle wants to do all of the great Venusian things, Venusian breakthrough, Jupiter upliftment. There's Uranus in Venus's sign, but Venus is going to be just dealing with a lot. There's a lot to try to reconcile and it's going to be kind of like feeling like you're caught between a rock and a hard place. Again, I think one of the most promising points of March that could break that feeling apart a little bit, or almost like lift the feeling of restrictiveness. It's like trying to negotiate with someone. It's like you're trying to negotiate with someone who has to be convinced that the thing that they're negotiating is actually in their best interest. And it's like, oh my God, come on. This is actually better for you if you would, just think about it or something like that. I'm not applying that to world events right now. I'm thinking more about interpersonal relationships and how intractable someone or somebody might be, right? You could just feel that like, I'm not going to budge. And it's like, no, it's actually really good for you to like this is something that will benefit you. But it could be that people are really set in their ways, or really unwilling to bend or yield or compromise or something like that. So here's Venus squaring Uranus right around March 19th. And to me, I think that's a critical turning point in terms of the intractable feeling that we have around a moon cycle that really should be about uplifting themes. So make of that what you will. I'm going to be finding out what it's about, just like all of you will. 22 transits on the month. I mean, we've got some of the highlights also for this month include, got here we go, Sun conjoining Neptune around the 13th of March. That's interesting. Full moon in Virgo on the 18th. Venus squaring Uranus, like I said, the Sun ingressing into Aries. That's the spring equinox, or the Aries ingress. That's a big moment. Mars squaring Uranus, Mercury conjoining Neptune, Venus conjoining Saturn toward the end of the month. So I tell you what, tune in this month, man, because this month is going to be packed with good astrology to learn from. I look forward to months like these. I don't sit here having a clear sense of exactly what's going to happen, but I get the mood and the feeling of the cycle. The new moon is a little bit like fool's gold to me this month. It's a little bit like the real gold is a little further down the line. But this early part of this month could almost make you feel like you're further ahead than you are. And then there might be a strong pullback as Venus is hemmed in between the malefics for a good portion of the month. And then I would say again, let's see how that changes right around March 19th. As always, though, I am learning and growing just like all of you with my understanding of these transits. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions as well. Please leave your comments in the comments section. I'll be doing sun and rising sign horoscopes tomorrow. And then we will just start diving in right away, unpacking a lot of these transits. We have a big week. Mars, Pluto coming up, Venus, Pluto coming up. So I look forward to seeing it alongside of all of you. All right, that's what I've got for today, and I hope you guys are having a good day today, a good start to your week, a good and a good week overall ahead. So we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.